Ready? Hey, hey, welcome to the Fireside Tattoo Network, our Fireside Tattoo podcast of the Fireside Tattoo Network. We're back with Lisa Mack again. You look really nice today.
Oh, well, so do you.
Thank you. I mean that in a completely non-sexually harassing way, too.
Oh.
In like a platonic, you look really nice today kind of way.
Well, I'm glad you added that little
Yeah.
tag.
And I added that tag because that's what I want to talk about today. But before we get into today's subject, what do we want to tell them to do, Lisa? Go to firesidetattoo.com. Oh, we have a new website since the last time, and it's awesome. And Lisa helped to put it together, and
Still
Scott
not
built
completely done, but we got everything structured the way we want to, and
it. It looks
got a lot
awesome.
of the design laid out, and it's so much more easy to navigate. And you'll have to let us know what you think.
Yeah, please do. It really is awesome. I love it. I love that you can just hit the down arrow and it swoops to the next page. So
You've always
nice.
loved that.
That's like my favorite
You're
thing.
like, I have to have it.
Why don't all websites have that?
I don't know. I didn't even know. I wouldn't have known to do that had you not just done it.
Yeah, you can do it. And even if you just click with the mouse, it all just swoops to the next page. So, anyways, go swoop on our website. And which one of these cameras is that looking at me? Does that see me? Oh. And also, you could go to Instagram. Lisa's been way more active on our Instagram. We got a lot of professional-looking photos. Some of them are of me tattooing. Today, there was one of my hand mixing some paint.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was a good photo. We also have just released the Dan Marshall Plein Air Watercolor Workshop. It was a 3-day live workshop that was done right here, and we recorded it, and we chopped it up into about, I don't know, I think it's like 8 videos that are like 20 or 30 minutes each. But it's really good. It's kind of content-packed. It's not the entire 3 days, but it's the best nuggets from the 3 days. It'll help with your tattooing, help you to become a better problem solver. He teaches a lot of the same way that we teach in Foundations, so a lot of it carries over from one to the other. What else? Lisa Mack is playing here next week, so come to Memphis and watch her sing and dance.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Thank you to Ink Addict for sending me clothes. Am I getting stuff on them? They sent me some
I know.
hats
I
and
noticed
shirts.
your shirt earlier. I meant to tell you that I liked it.
Thanks. They asked if I would wear it if they sent me some clothes. And I was like, yeah, I'll wear your clothes.
I'd wear one if
Oh, okay.
they had one.
I'll see. Can you guys send 2? Maybe 3? Don't blur it out. Yeah, you got to send Sean one, or he'll blur the whole thing
It's
out.
cool though.
I like it. I don't know that it's the best. I don't know if they'll see a return on their investment, or if it was a great marketing strategy for them, because I'm pretty sure that roughly like 0% of our subscriber base tunes in to like seek fashion advice from me, or to see what I'm wearing, or anything like that.
Well, you do have those cool pants. Are those
These
the cool
no,
pants?
these aren't them. These
Oh.
are different ones. But
He
yeah,
has one pair of cool pants.
That's true.
It's very cool.
yeah. But I don't
They're
think
cool.
anyone. Do I? That one pair is cool.
That one pair.
But the thing is I don't think anyone tunes in and go like, hey, what's Jake wearing today? And I can prove that by, like, if that were the case, these hats would be, like, everywhere. Walls, Cap Company, the stock would have skyrocketed by now.
You're the
But-
only person besides
No one.
toddlers that I know that wears those types of hats. But you rock it totally well.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Toddlers, I thought it was like a cyclist cap, but yeah, I guess it's more of a toddler cap.
I mean that in the best way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. All right, so I asked you to come back in today. I've been thinking about this episode for a little while because every morning I turn on CBS this morning and someone else is resigning from some high-end, like high-paying, high-profile job because they're sexually harassing other people. And so I let it get in my head a little bit. Because I am here in this studio and you are not always here with me, and a lot of times I'm here by myself, except for I'm here with my clients by myself, and I'm doing a lot of large-scale tattooing. I'm doing backs, I'm doing chests, I'm doing things like that. And I started thinking, like, oh, people could interpret, like, a lot of my positioning, stretching, a lot of the things that I do as being, like, sexually inappropriate if they wanted to.
Or that, yeah, if they could, for sure. If they felt even a little bit threatened and there was no one else here and it
Right.
made them feel more uncomfortable, yeah, you could be in a total weird situation.
Yeah. And so my first thought was, well, maybe I could just start, like, recording, like, leaving a camera in my studio. And I was like, no, that's probably way worse because then I've recorded them.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure this is something like tattooing has not been a real PC kind of like business ever. And like, as long as I can remember, there have been tattooers that would like, if they're tattooing a girl's shoulder, they want her to take her shirt off, like that kind of stuff, like, I don't want to get ink on it. So it's been that kind of business for a long time, but it's like every other business, it's changing. And I feel like in tattoo studios, at the very least, you have a station next to you and a front desk and people back and forth that like take some of the risk, I guess, out of the equation. But here where I am, there's none of that. So my first thought was I'm going to bring another like female tattooer in and find out kind of what they think about it. And I think that might be valuable. I think there's might be a good reason to do that. But then I thought, no, it probably makes more sense to bring someone who's not heavily tattooed, who you kind of you've been in a tattoo studio, you came to Underground and got tattooed. So you've been in that position where it's like, that they're not the most comfortable places in the world. They're a little bit like, I don't know, intimidating sometimes. And so you might be a little hesitant to speak up if you were uncomfortable, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I asked you to come on to talk about it.
I'm the perfect one to ask about that because I remember flipping through like some of the books of stuff and I saw more private parts than I had ever seen and I was like so intimidated. I was just like
when you went to the tattoo shop?
Yeah, because this was like a long time ago and I remember flipping through my mind just went blank. What did the
like the
portfolio?
The
Thank
portfolio,
you.
yeah.
I can't think of the
Probably
word.
like a piercing portfolio or something.
Well, no, it was just, but also tattoo. But it was
Okay.
just like all the things, you know. And I just remember being like, "Oh, this is crazy." Yeah, but like, wow, I can't believe people are like getting that tattooed. But
yeah,
that's what gets the wheels going for me. Is like, oh yeah, well, people are obviously being tattooed in places under the skin. But if I was like got one on my stomach, or you'd have to unbutton and do all the things, and there's lots of valuable parts working in those areas.
So that's exactly right. And the thing that I think about so much is that when I start tattooing, I zone completely out. I might be having a conversation with you even, but I'm thinking about like today I did this sunflower tattoo and it was all these subtle little value shifts, subtle little color shifts, and I get so far into that mode where I'm comparing this petal to this petal to this, I don't notice that I've scooted my hand or my elbow into your crotch to work. I honestly don't know.
Right.
I do at some point look up and go like, oh, and I move back this way. But I could see how someone would be like, okay, he just laid his arm in my crotch to tattoo this spot on my hip. Surely he doesn't have to do that. And it's true. I probably don't have to do that, but I'm just not thinking about that. I'm thinking about solving that problem on that tattoo.
Well, I would think, depending on who the client is and their comfort level, that they would naturally just kind of be zoned out with you. I mean, like if you're just kind of like gradually like working and working and working and working, it's I would say from their perspective it wouldn't feel very threatening. But
if it started off that way,
yeah, if it started off that way, but it might be something where I don't know if do you ever have anybody sign anything that says if you're getting, I don't know the wording that would be used, but if you're, that just...
I mean, we have a release form that's kind of a generic tattoo release form, but I don't think it addresses anything like that.
Well, it may, I mean, I don't know if this is even right or if any places do this ever, but just to say, is it like just making them aware? I agree that if I'm getting a tattoo in this location, that I may have to be, are you okay with that? Or are you aware, and please, don't be afraid to speak up if you feel uncomfortable at any time. Like just something like a waiver, or I don't know what you would call it.
That's probably a good idea. No, I never thought about it, honestly.
Just saying, hey, some tattoos get in some shady areas, and if you're not comfortable at any time, just all you have to do is make me aware or whatever.
That's actually a really good idea. I hadn't thought about trying to add it to a waiver or even an additional waiver that says something like that. Not that you're waiving your right to
no,
to
it's
be
saying
sexually
speak
harassed,
up if you feel uncomfortable at any time, and we can stop. Just go in ahead and putting it in your client's mind that this is a comfortable zone and that you're aware that sometimes things can get uncomfortable. So maybe if you go ahead and say it first, then it makes everything out on the table a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So if you were to come into this studio as, getting your first tattoo and walking into a room that's just me and just you, and you realize that there really wasn't anyone else in the building aside from, maybe from a waiver or something that brings it to your attention. Is there anything that you can think of that would make you more comfortable on the front end or throughout the process? Or would you be intimidated to speak up, do you think? Or
There's a lot of times when a person, a woman, and I guess a man too, can feel intimidated to speak up in those situations. I have in certain situations. I've been guilty of it just because in the moment sometimes if you really do feel uncomfortable, you don't want to jeopardize anything. But I don't know. It depends on, I think that a lot of times if you can bring it up first or bring up, hey, I've got a drape here that you're welcome to drape over if you feel, like as if they have to remove their shirt. Maybe if you had like a warm drape there, then or if you say, I'm just going to touch you here. I just want to let you know I'm moving lower. Just like when girls go to the gyno, the gyno's like got her gloves on and there's like a drape and she's like, cold jelly, she's always warning before. I don't
so
know.
it's just trying to be like conscious throughout and just say like, okay, well, I there's a chance and I'm gonna, or like right now I have to move your shirt a little bit here because this is dropping down here. Just trying to like verbalize everything that you're doing along the way.
Yeah,
that would
could
make
help.
you feel a lot better.
Yeah, I think so. If I had a little warning.
Yeah, I think that's probably something that a lot of us would have to like make a real effort to do because it's so easy to kind of get into your own world, get into your own zone. But it's it probably makes sense. It's probably an important thing.
Well, like, okay, so I noticed recently that you posted a photo of a girl in the studio that you had tattooed under here.
Uh-huh.
And she had like, her
She
shirt
had
pulled
giant
up.
boobs.
Okay, I didn't know what I could say, but like, I mean, I was like admiring them, and I was just like, it was like boobs and then tattoo.
Yeah.
And it was like over here, but it was like all this under boob, and I'm just like, man, that's like it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's just right close to her. Some people are more open and whatever,
She
but
was not. She's actually. I'm glad you brought her up because she's a perfect example, and she is one of those that unintentionally had me thinking of that the whole time, and I think it affected my ability to focus on the tattoo. Not because I was staring at her boobs, but because I was like, she was very shy. She wasn't really outgoing, really talkative. She was nice, but she had these like big boobs, and I'm trying to balance her shirt. I don't have the little pasties, and I don't think that she would have been one that would be willing to take off her shirt to put the pasties on. She wanted to be covered. But I had her on her side, and I'm trying to balance this shirt like on the top of her boob, like to cover her nipple, because if it fell one way, it would be on top of my tattoo because the flowers went right under it, and if it fell the other way, it would expose her whole boob. And so I literally found myself paying as much attention to how her shirt was teetering as I was doing a nice tattoo.
You're probably sweating.
I was the whole thing. I was like stressed over.
You're like, oh my gosh.
And it's like, why? What a waste of energy to be so worried about that.
Yeah.
Like, and I should think like, well, so what if her shirt falls the other way? I probably should. If before all of this, I probably would have just said, sorry, there's no like private space in tattooing, or there's no like personal space in tattooing. This is just what I have to do. You're gonna have to like get your shirt out of the way. But because of all this uproar over like sexual inappropriateness, I'm just like,
Well, when we were chatting earlier before we started, just to kind of, throw some things around of like what we would talk about, you brought up a good point, how a lot of these women are coming forward when things happened several years in the past. And you're as a tattooer, you might be thinking, well, I mean, I've been alone with so many women, and what if they just came out of the woodwork and said I fondled them or something in a tattoo? I mean, you're blindsided with it, and you had no idea. That could be crazy.
From what this whole experience, the last few months of watching the news has taught me is like, it only takes one person to come forward, and then everyone starts to question like, oh, I know that guy. I spent some time alone with him. Did he do that to me too? I bet he did that. I mean, and I don't know. I'm not trying to like discount what a lot of women are saying, but it has to be with this like avalanche of accusations. Some guys are getting steamrolled that don't deserve it. There's no way that's not happening.
I mean, I could speak for both sides. I've met people that I have learned that were dishonest about situations, and I've also known people who were too afraid to speak up, and things came out that were true. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. There's probably some people that have been thrown under the bus, but I don't know.
Yeah, there have, and I mean, I don't think I'll be one. I mean, yeah, I don't see myself being one of them, but I feel like I'm probably at a greater like risk than a lot of people just because I don't have other tattooers around me here.
I feel
Um,
like the going back to the waiver thing, that
that's
would be a really good way to set
might be
up
a good thing to
set
add.
up for anybody to set up like future tattoo appointments. Just to kind of go ahead and say that if your tattoo's in a location where clothing has to be removed, we'll take steps to keep everything covered. And if you feel uncomfortable at any time, please come forward. Or something
Yeah,
like along those lines. That way, that if it goes back and someone is like accused that is innocent,
yeah,
maybe that could at least
at
say,
least have
hey,
that.
I made her aware that there might be some
Yeah,
situations.
yeah,
Be prepared.
yeah. Do you think that like so you've come from not tattooing but from a creative background. You've traveled a lot with bands. You've been the only woman in the band. Sorry for my stuffy head, everybody. You've been the only woman in the band. You've been a photographer for a long time. Um, how have you? I mean, I know you've dealt with some of it, especially being on the road with all guys. Are are you able to just say like, that's not cool. I'm not playing that game, or do you find yourself a lot of times like, just let that one slide?
Oh, I've been in so many situations where I wanted to say something, but it would ruin the whole evening. And I guess not I'm not as good about standing up about things, but just so many comments will be made, or looks or comments about your outfit that like immediately when somebody makes a comment about your ass in a dress or something, feel your face get hot, and then you like feel
Uh,
like they don't I don't know, that they're not looking at you anymore, that that's all they're looking at. Then you feel weird, and then you feel like you have to cover up. It's just like so many things from a woman's perspective that it's just like unnecessary, and it would be great to just be like, don't fucking say that to me.
yeah,
Can we say the F word on here?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This is YouTube. You can say everything on
Okay.
YouTube. Um, yeah, I mean, and that's such a foreign thing to me. I
Yeah.
think in most guys, like they don't even. I mean, I don't comment on girls' asses. I mean, not to their faces, but I don't. I mean, I never like tell a girl. I would never. It would never consider it. I'm not that bold, I guess, or not that confident, or not that ballsy, whatever it is. But I would never like that's never been a thing that guys that I know like have been through. I've never been like worn something in a girl. They're like, "Hey, your legs look great in that."
And
Like,
then made
what?
you feel
Yeah.
weird and
No,
uncomfortable.
I would just be like, "Really? They do? Sweet."
Right.
But,
Yeah. It's tricky because a compliment is one thing, but like I've definitely, especially in the music industry, yeah, I guess artist creative, it happens a lot. And there's so many times where it actually walks the line. And if you're trying to get something from them, like if you're trying to get a tattoo, or you're trying to get production work from a producer, or this, that, and the other, and they're helping you, and you really need their help, or you want their skill, sometimes it can be really scary to just like to call them out, especially if you're not sure sometimes it's hard to even process what is happening when it's happening. Like, and then you'll be on the way home later, and you'll be like, I think that was like, it'll all come back to you, and you'll be like,
uh,
I'm like, if sometimes in the moment you're just like, adrenaline, I guess, kicks
mhm.
in, or whatever you want to say, whatever the word is.
Yeah, yeah. But then you go back and reflect on it later, and you're like, "Oh yeah, that was completely
Yeah, like you have a
inappropriate."
crying fit in the shower, and
Really?
no, I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Maybe-
Like, holy shit, does that really happen?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I think that just goes to show what a big issue it probably is, and how disconnected like a lot of guys are, or just how far apart. Like what I'm sure that most of, or maybe not most, but a lot of the guys that have had to like resign from their jobs honestly did not know that they were like making people uncomfortable. They were just doing what they do. I would think. I don't know. I don't believe that Matt Lauer looks kind of creepy. Now, once they pulled him out, I was like, oh yeah, that dude, I could see it. And definitely the Weinstein guy. I didn't even need to hear that he had done anything. You can look at his face and tell that he's no good. But I mean, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with Charlie Rose. I really like that guy. I feel like they said he walked out of the shower with his robe open in front of a couple of girls. It's like, damn it, Charlie.
Well, okay, well, here's my experience with that. There is no girl that is just like ready for a guy to walk out of the shower with his robe open and be
Really?
like, "Yeah,
Huh.
give it here." Like,
Huh.
no, that's never a sexy thing.
I,
No
it-
girl is ready for that
yeah,
ever.
okay. I'm sure you're right. But you have to think like all guys are ready for that. Not-
Yeah, but it's totally different. Totally different, and that's what's
Yeah.
crazy. And it's weird. It's like, why are we so opposite? A lot of us. I mean, some girls are total hornballs as well, but you know.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah. What
Anyway.
did you say? Yeah. No, yeah, that's
Well,
true.
especially if it's
Naked
just
dudes aren't attractive.
yeah. Well, especially if it's still like
Yeah.
it's like deflated. And
Right.
sorry,
Nobody wants to see that.
this is too much.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that. That's true.
I hope my mom doesn't watch that.
We won't advertise your name on this one, maybe. um, but you mentioned earlier, like if you need them for something, and that's what seems to be the common theme in a lot of this is that the guys are in like some position of power. And when I first started thinking about it, I was like, well, I'm not in any real position of power, so maybe that's
yes,
not
you
it.
are. You're putting something on someone forever.
Right. I wasn't
That's
thinking
like-
of it that way, but that's exactly right. I am completely in a position of power because they want a good tattoo. And
Yeah.
if it means like enduring a little bit of feeling up for an hour, they're going to go through it, not even realizing that I wasn't trying to feel them up for an hour. I was honestly just trying to do a good tattoo.
Well, if you take it even deeper than that, a lot of people who are coming to you have come and chosen you because you have a reputation for doing a great job on these big, nice tattoos, and you're really good at what you do. And when people seek out a tattoo artist to put this really emotional, that they're emotionally connected to idea, dream, desire on their body, they want it to be done by this person. Sometimes people take months to pick tattoo artists.
yeah, yeah.
And when they go get it started and then you diddle with their bits or something,
Right.
then who's going to finish it?
That's the name of this episode, by the way, Diddle with Her Bits. I was trying to think of what to call it.
Well, people are going to hate me after they watch this.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was just thinking like, oh, the girls are trying to move up and this guy was in a position of power. They were
Yeah.
trying to get to a higher position. But it's the exact same thing. They waited for however long to get tattooed. We went through this whole consultation process. How long did it take before they even decided that I was the person to do the tattoo? So when that day comes, yeah, I'm complete, like, it's true. No one
Mhm.
ever argues with me about anything in that studio.
Right.
And I assume it's just because I have good ideas all the time, but it's probably just because they're like intimidated and just be like, yeah, nope, I'm good with whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's not only are they thinking about, I mean, what they're really thinking about is like, oh shit, I'm getting this forever. And
Yeah.
that's like a big deal. Well, I mean, some people it's not. I mean, some people are pros at getting tattoos.
Some
but-
are completely open. I
Yeah.
was tattooing someone not too long ago and trying to be PC like that, and she was like, I'm not modest. Do you need me to take my shirt off? And I was like, if you don't mind, that would make my job so much easier. She did. We did the tattoo. It probably saved her money because I got it done faster than I would
Mhm.
have if I were working around her clothes. And it didn't bother her. It didn't bother me. And we were fine.
It
And
would
that's
be
why it's
nice
such
if
a-
everybody was like that.
It
You
would.
get to see a little skin.
Yeah,
Everyone's
even
happy
better.
about it. I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
That was not where I was trying to go. but yeah.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I mean, so that makes it even tougher sometimes. It's like it's just trying to gauge that person.
Yeah.
But you're right. I had not thought about adding it to a release form or maybe even adding a secondary form saying, look, there is no real personal space here. I'm going to be, on you a lot. That's just the way it is.
I'm gonna be on you.
Yeah, maybe I won't maybe you can write it instead of me. All right, so I don't think this has to be a crazy long episode. It's just something I wanted to address, and I really wanted to bring it out there because I'd like to hear if other people have already dealt with the problem.
Well, I do have one question though. This
Yeah.
is the one I've been wanting to ask. Is like, when the girl comes in that wants her, I don't know, labia tattooed.
Yeah.
That's an actual private part, and there's people
Yeah.
who do that all the time.
Yeah.
What do you
I
do
don't-
about that?
I don't ever run into it because of the type of like my I don't know because my
Clientele.
clientele and like the bigger like I'm doing bigger stuff like I mean I do back pieces that go onto people's butts and I end up in their butt crack sometime
Yeah.
and that's kind of weird but it's just what it takes for the tattoo. People that specifically want to get tattooed on their labia, I think that they're doing it's
They're on the
different.
other side of
They're on the
town.
they're getting tattooed on Summer Avenue, not by me. So sorry, all you Summer Avenue tattoos. No, it's I think that there's definitely a group. There's a there's a percentage of tattooees, people that get tattooed, that don't care so much about the tattoo as they do about the experience of getting tattooed. And I have found myself, I said I've never found myself in uncomfortable situations, but I have found myself in those situations in the past where a girl is enjoying the tattoo probably more than she should. And I remember one in particular, this girl, man, I haven't thought about this in years. This one girl in particular, it was forever ago. I was doing a piece of kanji, like a Chinese symbol on her outer arm. And she was like, she was a really kind of dark complected, very like beautiful African looking, dark African woman. And she took her entire shirt off for me to tattoo her arm. And
she was trying to get her some.
She was very like bold. She was really like she filled the whole room. You know what I mean? And so she and I was just like, you don't have to. And I was just doing kanji on a shoulder. I wasn't a real experienced tattooer. This is probably 20 years ago. And I was like, you can just push your shirt up. And she's like, no, I would rather just take it off. And she takes it off, and she looked great, but I was just like completely beside myself through the entire tattoo. I didn't know what to do because I just kept thinking, like, she doesn't care about this tattoo. She's like an exhibitionist. She cares about being like naked in front of me.
Yeah,
and that's
she
all
was
I could
loving
think.
it.
Yeah, so that's probably the closest experience I've had to what women deal with all the time. But it completely floored me. I was just like, it's probably a terrible tattoo if I had to guess.
Well, she enjoyed it. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. But there's definitely a group. There is some segment of the population that likes tattooing for different reasons.
I think it'd be good to hear some comments maybe on this podcast of like if you've ever dealt with some of these situations before. I'd like to know.
I would too.
If you've ever had any uncomfortable situations, or if you've ever had anybody say anything, or if you have like a specific way you make people feel comfortable. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I would too. I'd love for you guys to comment on that. And so if we were to like close it with one idea, it's just like communication.
Yeah, like, communication, I would say.
Tell them on the front end.
Yeah, and I would say if the tattooer is able to just get it all out there first, then it puts it on the table, and it's not just this thing that nobody talked about, that way. If you just go ahead and say it front end, even if it's not a written form or anything, if it's just like hey, I apologize if you just let me know if I put my hands anywhere that makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. I tend to apologize after the fact when I realize that I've had my elbow in their crotch while I'm working. I'm just going like, oh, sorry about my elbow in your crotch, and then I just move on, and everyone laughs it off, and that's the end of it. But yeah, it's probably better on the front end to go like, hey, there's a possibility this is going to happen.
But if you also too, like if you have your elbow like on their rib cage or something, that's uncomfortable too.
Yeah.
So it just might be great.
Way.
Yeah, in a different way, but it might be good to throw that at the beginning, just with a hey, if anywhere that I have to reach in order to stretch your skin or do this or that and the other. If it makes you uncomfortable, just speak up and let me know.
Yeah.
Then that covers all the bases.
I might add that to my definitely the verbal stuff. I may even add it to my release form. I think it's a good idea. Thanks. I'm glad we had this talk.
I try.
Guys, do like if you have any ideas or if you've experienced it and want to share or whatever, feel free share in the comments. We'll try to respond. And I think that's it. Until next time.